Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I've got the tie on, we've got the top hollow music playing in the background. You all know what that means. It is time for some more Pokemon Sleep News. Sorry about the Discord notification there. I forgot to mute it apparently, as is pretty typical for my videos. But anyway, Amber Canyon. We now have a bit more details about the Amber Canyon. We already knew some of this information, like that it would be released on November 6th. I don't know if we had a specific time, 3 p.m. It's a time of day. I think that's 3 p.m. local time. If not, then it's my time zone. Do check your time zone, just in case it is different. But it is 3 p.m. for me, at least, for when it's being released. Now, this is notably in the middle of a week. There's always a cascade of people who are like, wow, they're releasing in the middle of the week. That's so weird. Not realizing that they've literally done that every time that there has been a new island added. They did that for both Lapis Lakeside and for Old Gold Power Plant. They release it in, I think on a Thursday, if I'm right. Let me check my calendar real quick just to make sure. Yeah, on a Thursday. Just so... The running theory as to why they do that is to give a soft release before the actual event, just to make sure there aren't any huge problems. That way they can test it with a smaller batch of people, the dedicated people that are going to use an easy travel ticket to get early access, despite there not being an event running. There are some advantages and disadvantages to doing that, and I will get to that when I make an eventual Amber Canyon strategy guide video. So subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you want to be notified when I have that strategy guide video released. So that is to be coming. But the exciting things that they've announced in this one, well, you can already see in this image a couple new Pokemon that they have now announced officially. There's no shocker that there's Trapinch, Vibrava, and Flygon. We already had Flygon confirmed via the video that was sent out for the Pokemon Presents a couple months ago. This was already teased for a while now. But the new things here, we see a Dwebble and Crustle over here, and a Bagon, Shelgon, and Salamence. So those are the new Pokemon they are adding. It's confirmed, interestingly, that Trapinch, Vibrava, and Flygon's also going to be at top. So that's kind of new. In the past, new Pokemon that are released with an event or with a new island have been island exclusives. They've never actually released it at a different island, but they're doing that with Top Hollow, with Flygon specifically. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. But more importantly, we now know that there is a new ingredient coming out in Glossy Avocado. Now, I'm not going to quite fully say I told you all so, but I know that I will allude to it a little bit, because I did mention that I think that pumpkins are a gimmick, a short-lived meta. That's just coming around for Halloween, and that they're going to be similar to Tails. They're the Tails of tomorrow, in my opinion. And I could still be proven wrong about that, because, maybe they'll include pumpkins in some of these new recipes that they're introducing, which, by the way, they're introducing 4 new meals. 2 new salads, 1 new dessert, 1 new curry. With the new ingredient. Most likely, most of those will probably have the Glossy Avocado. That's pretty standard when we get a new ingredient. And typically speaking, they release at least one of the newest, strongest meals per every single meal type. That's just typical when it comes to releasing new ingredients. And I'm expecting these to push the pot size, because with a new area, we're going to be getting new pot size increases. That's pretty standard with increasing the research rank, or the sleep style dex goal rank, not research rank. And this is going up to 450. If it follows previous precedent of previous islands that have been released, there will be another sleep style dex goal past this that this will also unlock, giving us 4 new pot expansions. Most likely. That's not guaranteed yet, but most likely. Now, we already know that it's going to be Poison Bug Dragonberry. They're following previous precedents that have been set of giving us 2 Pokemon that match type, and then 1 that's off type. Off type as far as not matching the favorite berries at the island that they're released for. But I want to talk a little bit about some speculation as to what these new Pokemon might do. Now, we know that there's going to be a new ingredient, and in the past, every time that we've gotten a new ingredient in this way, one of the new Pokemon is the Mono. and it's a mono ingredient specialist. That's how it's always been so far. And then they released another one that's an ABB option. Now, for past examples, we had for the mono Vikavolt for coffee and Beware for corn. In this example, I don't know what it's going to look like exactly, but my guess, and what a lot of the speculation that I'm seeing from many of you in the Discord and just in the community in general, Flygon's probably not going to be the mono, just because it is available as early as Top Hollow. I wouldn't be surprised if it's included in its ingredient list, just because it's released with the island, but I would expect to see this probably be either it not be an ingredient specialist at all and have it as a B ingredient, or for it to have it strictly as the C ingredient, and that way they could put it at Top Hollow and it not be super unbalanced, because it would take a while to unlock that C ingredient anyway, and it'd be kind of unreliable at making it. That'd be my first prediction. My second prediction is having to do with Salamence. Now, Salamence is a pseudo-legendary. For those of you that don't know what a pseudo-legendary is, it's a certain classification of Pokemon throughout the franchise. And as of right now, we currently have 2 pseudo-legends in the game, being Tyranitar and Dragonite. Now, these two have a lot of similarities. Now, I'm not going to say Salamence is going to be just like this, because it's not guaranteed. We only have 2 to build off of. However, if Salamence follows this trend that I'm about to show here, then I would be shocked if they ever change this for future pseudo-legends to come, because at that point it'd be 3, and 2 might just be coincidence, and 3 would be a pattern. Now, the pattern that I'm seeing between these two is they both are ingredient specialists, they both have a mono list that is unrivaled. If we're to take a look at ingredient productivity for these guys, for the ingredients that they have as their A ingredient, they stand well beyond the productivity of their counterparts for how much they can produce. You're seeing like nearly like 20% more here on Tyranitar just for being for producing ginger over Kangaskhan, and Dragonite's producing even more than that compared to Gengar, which is the second option. They are significantly better at their A ingredient, and we don't see that across any other like first to second place comparison, aside from maybe Large Leak, but that's a little bit different because you're comparing a mono to an ABB option. And same thing is kind of true for Moo Moo Milk with Blastoise. But as far as comparing monos to monos, nothing else has that big of a discrepancy. And another very notable thing about the pseudos in particular is because they are so good at producing ingredients, they actually are competitors in even their B ingredients, rivaling the true monos for their role as the best farmer in the game for their specified ingredient. In fact, if you futz around with these settings, sometimes you can actually make it look like the mono or the pseudo is the better option if you mess around with inventory settings and stuff. They're very comparable to the true monos for their ingredients just by having the ABB list. And also, most notably, they give them kind of the lame skill of Charge Energy S. Now, I'd say generally lame skill, but it's actually pretty good on a Pokemon like this, because they're great for rotating, because they produce so much excess that you want to just throw them on a little bit, get those ingredients, then take them off, because that's really what they're doing if you have the true mono list. Additionally, I think these you can kind of consider more mixed lists, because, like, let's say you have ABA. They're so good at it, they can produce the Metacall for herbs easily, or like the example with Dragonite, while also producing a sizable amount of corn, and if there's some sort of synergy with those ingredients, then that is notable, and you can actually get a decent amount of the additional one to supplement. So, very good ingredient specialists is the bar that's been set by pseudos in the past, and I think they want to. I think they're going to continue on with the trend that they are very, very powerful, just because they do have a. For those of you that don't know, they actually have a different XP curve. If I was to open up this XP table, you can see that for most Pokemon, by default, to get to level 65, it takes 66,000 XP. But if I was to set this to Dragonite, it takes 99,000. 1.5 times, basically. So, they take more XP, but they are significantly better at doing what they do than other Pokemon. I would expect the same for Salamence because it is also within this classification of pseudo-legendary. And given that, I'm going to expect, and here's my prediction, this is speculation, don't take this as fact, I'm going to expect that Salamence is probably going to have avocados as the B ingredient. Because in the past, when we got a new Pokemon producing a new ingredient, Dragonite got the B ingredient for corn, and it feels overpowered if they were to give us a new ingredient that's new and meta-defining, and to put it on a pseudo who's going to overproduce that item. I'm expecting that Salamence is going to overproduce some other very significant ingredient. What that ingredient is, we can't really predict, because I'm going to guess that it's going to be very significant for whatever meals they release. Which, as of right now, we have no information as to what those meals are going to be. Only time will tell. And for comparison, Dragonite, back when they released that, it's an herb producer. The new top meal for, at the time, was Inferno Corn Keema Curry, which has both herbs and corn in it. So it was definitely used in one of those top tier meals, which I would assume they're probably going to do the same thing for whatever Salamence's ingredient turns out to be, if it doesn't turn out to be avocados. Well, that puts us in a place where we can actually kind of reasonably assume that Dwebble and Crustle are probably going to be the mono farmer, because it's probably not going to be Flygon, because it's available at Top Hollow. It's probably not going to be Salamence, because that might be overpowered for them to release the mono on a pseudo, which means we can probably reasonably assume that Dwebble and Crustle are probably going to be the farmers for avocados. But we still have no clue what they're going to do with Salamence and Flygon. I would expect that Flygon's probably not going to be a berry specialist, because we already have a ground-type berry special, or we just had one released not that long ago in Swampert. I'd be shocked for them to give us another one. As of right now, we don't have any ground-type skills specialists, but skills specialists kind of don't care too much about their typing, but now with expert mode, that's kind of a consideration, so it's potentially going to be a skills specialist. That would kind of follow a little long. If that's the case, then the release of Amber Canyon is going to be very similar to the release of Lapis Lakeside, with a two-stage AAA with a new ingredient, Pokemon, a pseudo with it, ABB, and then a third Pokemon that is a skill specialist. That's kind of my predictions for how this is all going to fall. But the devs could surprise me. They do have a history of doing that. And we are getting 4 new meals, which only time will tell what the strength on those new meals are going to be. But I'm going to guess that these new meals are going to be meeting the new size requirements for the pot size. So we'll see how the meta shifts with all this. We'll see if they use pumpkins in more than one way. I'd be glad to be proven wrong about my prediction about pumpkins being a gimmick, but 250 base strength, I can't see them making it anything less than a gimmick. So I'm kind of expecting those pumpkin meals to get power crept. Tail meals got power crept, and they were some of the strongest at the game's launch. So I'm expecting only the same for pumpkins. But anyway, if you have enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Turn on notifications, especially if you want to get notified when I post news videos like this. If you want to join the Discord, feel free to click the link in the description. We have a cool community of people to come hang out, talk about all things Pokemon Sleep and the like with. And as always, thank you to all my channel members. It really means a lot to me that you guys want to show your support financially, despite there being no paid rewards for members. If you too want to become a channel member, then feel free to click that join button down below. And as always, I thank you all for watching and hope that you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.